And you have a nice thick and creamy Palak Paneer here. I'm so hungry right now. When do we have a break? Can we eat after this? Hello everyone, my name is Srikant and welcome to Happy Belly Fish Cooking Show. Today we are going to make a restaurant classic. You might have eaten it somewhere at some point of time in your life. I'm not talking about your afterlife here, your current life. You must have had some Indian friends who made it for you with a lot of effort and love. Or you might have even tasted it in one of your trips to India or to an Indian restaurant nearby. Must be your favorite takeaway classic, easy to order. So we are going to use a lot of spices here. A lot of them are like whole spices, some of them are ground spices. I'll give an explanation to each one of them so that you don't know which one is what. You can always ask in the comment section that, okay, I didn't get this name of this spice, what is it? Ask us, I'll tell you. And what are we going to use for this? The most important ingredient, spinach. This is baby spinach, that's what we call it in Europe. But spinach is of different types. This spinach is so soft you can actually eat it raw. Just put it in your salad and eat it. Then you also get some spinach which you may not be able to eat raw. And those spinach you'll have to wash nicely also because they always have this mud and clay and grime. So if you kind of get this earthy flavor, it's mostly the mud and the clay, right? So I must actually tell you how to wash them. So when you get those spinach which have a lot of clay or mud in them, always cut the root off first and soak it in water for a long time, like 20-30 minutes. Then all the dust and all the mud will settle down and then you can take it out, throw the water and wash it again. This way you will be able to get all these unwanted things out of the spinach. And if you think like you're gonna get away with this just with washing it under running water, that's not gonna happen, okay? So this is one of the things that you need to know when you cook spinach or any of the leafy greens. Make sure you don't want the clay in your dish. It's not healthy. Then we'll move on to the spices. Okay, rest of the ingredients we'll talk about. You will also get a list of ingredients, so don't think that it's too complicated, there are too many things. You need to kind of now start getting a little adventurous, right, with the spices that you have. Now, we'll begin with the first spice, which is the Indian bay leaf. So when you read bay leaf and it comes to Indian cooking, make sure it's Tejpat. That is the real name of the Indian bay leaf, not the one that you get in the Mediterranean. You see these 3 veins here in the middle? This is a sign. And it has this nice taste of clove in it, very mild. This is very important. It's one of the must-have spices and it's also not very expensive. Then I'm going to use this whole dried chilies so that, this sweet spinach and sweet and kind of bitter spinach gets this pungent and spicy flavor of the chili. And then I'm going to use cassia. Now, if you don't have cassia, you can also use cinnamon. But I'm going to use cassia here. Not the whole of it. We'll see how much we are going to use when we are cooking. Then we'll come to some more interesting spices that you might have never known. This is black cardamom. Now this is not the same as the green cardamom, so never mix them up, especially when it comes to sweet dishes, right? If you're making a cake or lassi, don't end up putting this. That might be a very big tragic thing to happen. So we are going to use the black cardamom. Then we'll also use clove. Now clove is something which kind of gives this nice pungency, spiciness to it. You kind of get a very nice fresh aroma when you put this in any of your dish. And of course black pepper. This is one of my favorite. So before chili pepper, the red chili or green chili came to India, this was the mainstay. This is what gave the zing to your dish. So these are all the spices that we are using. You might have known all of them, or maybe some of the spices you did not know about. And then we move on to the ground spices. Now these are the 4 basic ground spices. Most of the dishes that you will see that I'm cooking on our cooking show, you will see that I'm using coriander powder, I'm using cumin powder, I'm using turmeric and chili. Now, you're like a DJ. playing around with these 4 spices. You can do so much with just these 4. And then we'll use some other spices. Salt, we don't have to count it. It will always be there. We'll use some garam masala. You can make your own, or you can even buy a good garam masala from your favorite spice dealer. And then one of my most favorites is dried fenugreek leaf. It gives this nice musky flavor and aroma to your dish. And we'll put it when we are cooking the palak paneer. But before we move forward, I need to tell you that even though I'm calling this as palak paneer so that you actually find it, if I name it something else, you might never find my video. I'm actually not using paneer. I'm going to use tofu here. And there are reasons for it. Reason number 1, it's not always easy to find paneer. Number 2, the paneer that you get in the market is not always, the best quality. It's really old. Sometimes I'm kind of wondering that, does it even taste like anything? Because it's so chewy and rubbery. I think you might have experienced this. And the third one, it's not always easy to make your own paneer at home. It might be very difficult. And you will also have to start planning it like one day before that, okay, get all the milk and then the lemon and then boil it and do so much. So if you have no other choice, or if you really want to go dairy free, for example, then you can always use tofu. And if I did not tell you, or if you don't tell it to anyone, they wouldn't even figure out that this is tofu and not paneer while eating, not while looking at it. And the rest of the ingredients are easy. You know this: onion, finely chopped; ginger, finely chopped; garlic, finely chopped. And I'm using some tomato paste. If you're lucky to have fresh tomatoes which are sour in taste, then you can use that. In cold countries, you don't always get these tomatoes that actually taste like tomato. They just taste like a water balloon. So you might like to swap it for tomato paste. All right, so many ingredients, but you also learn so many new things. So we are going to start cooking now, and soon you will see that how do I combine all these ingredients to get one of the most tastiest gravies that you will ever make. Let's start cooking now. So we'll start with putting some oil in the pan, and we'll cook the spinach actually. So what we'll do is we'll put some chopped garlic. I'm putting about 2 tablespoons of it. So you can keep it at a high flame because we are going to cook the spinach, and spinach, like you all know, it has a lot of water content. And we'll have to cook it until it starts to dry. You can even squeeze the water out and then just put it. And cook it in an open pan. You want the water to be out, right? So just cook it in an open pan. But remember the thing about washing, you should never go wrong there. This is the one thing that will make your eating experience very unpleasant, having stones and whatnot in your dish. So we'll cook it, and it can take about 10 minutes or sometimes even more until it's completely dried. So you will see that the volume is already reducing. So make sure you plan well. I have used about 250 grams of spinach, and that already looked like a lot. So you might be in a situation where you have to cook for 4 people, so you will need easily about, a kilo of spinach there. And spinach leaves, it's voluminous. So you might need a very big pot. So plan accordingly. So you have to keep cooking until you see all the water that's out. And you also have to make sure that the garlic or the spinach doesn't start to stick to the pan when the water is evaporated. What some people also do is they steam the spinach, or they boil the spinach with very little amount of water. But my favorite way is to actually cook it on a pan until the water has gone. And while this is happening, this is a nice time to do your Instagram. People say, I don't want to procrastinate. But there are times when you can do procrastination, like this time. It's taking forever to cook, so you can check out your Instagram, like our videos, or just talk to somebody at home. Like, okay, hello, I have so much time for you. Let's talk. You might wonder, can't I just take the spinach and make a puree out of it, like a green smoothie, and then add the spices? it will have this very raw flavor to it. That's why you need to cook it. And I'm not contending with the raw food eaters, but spinach is actually healthier when it's cooked. The true nutrients that are there inside will only come out when you eat it with spices, of course, chili especially, and when it's cooked. This is a dish by itself now. So if you're in a hurry and you change your mind that, okay, I'm not going to make palak paneer, you can just take this fried spinach, add some spices, potato, tofu, whatever, just add to it now and your dish is ready. But if you want the finesse, you want to make it even more attractive and interesting, then we will grind it into a nice smoothie. We'll add some water, grind it into a nice smoothie, and then we'll proceed further. So what I'm going to do now is just remove this into a bowl and allow it to cool. Unless you have this blender pots which are made of steel, then you can just blend it as it is. There are so many spices here. In the description below of this video, you will find a link to the downloadable, and you can also check our website where you will find links to free cooking classes where you can actually try out some recipes that you want to cook and which you have never tried because you're always afraid, oh my god, there's so many things here. So make sure you do check out that. Alright, now let's start cooking the spices. So I'm going to add some oil to the pan, and then I'll add about 2 bay leaves or tejpat. Now this is cassia. You can see how thick it is, the cassia that I have, but it's about this big. If it's very thin, you can probably double the size. And then I'm going to add some red chili, and we'll also add some clove. I'm adding about 3 to 4 pods of it. I'm going to add 1 black cardamom. Whatever you do, make sure this black cardamom doesn't end up in the plate of the person who is eating. It's not very pleasant actually when it comes into the mouth, but it gives a very nice flavor to the oil that you're cooking in. And you don't have to burn the spices inside, that's not the point. All you have to do is wait for the aroma to emerge, and as soon as you can smell it, time for you to put the chopped onion. It's a small onion that I have chopped, not too big, just about this size. I'm also going to add about a teaspoon of ginger, finely chopped, and about a teaspoon of garlic. Now, you can also use ginger and garlic paste if you're familiar with that. And you have to cook it until the onion starts to become slightly translucent, And it's very important, because if you don't cook your onion, ginger and garlic properly, you will always be having this aftertaste, and you might even start burping like, you ate garlic today, or something with garlic. Most of the people who start cooking a lot of Indian dishes in the beginning, they're in a hurry to actually not cook the onion enough. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that they do. So you will start seeing the oil that's simmering, at the edges. At this time, what I'm going to do is I'll add the 4 dried spices. So I'll begin with turmeric, about half a teaspoon. I'll add about half a teaspoon of chili. I'll add 1 teaspoon of coriander powder and half a teaspoon of cumin. And just for a few seconds, you just need to mix it nicely. You will immediately start feeling the change of aroma, and you know that you are on your way to greatness. So we'll add tomato here, the tomato paste that we have, about 2 teaspoons of it. It will give this nice sour flavor to the spinach gravy that we are going to make. Again, whenever you add a new ingredient, it will always have a very sharp flavor at the beginning, and then it starts to round off as you start cooking it. You should not burn the spices at this time. So you can reduce the flame to medium and then completely switch it off until we add the spinach puree, which we have to make now. So I'm adding the spinach now. It's cooled down enough. And then I'll add slight amount of water. You don't want to add too much water. Don't make it runny. Don't want to take that risk. Where's the water? Here. Just a little bit of it. It could be about, half a cup or something. But you can always, start blending it and add water in small quantities instead of adding all the water in the beginning. All right, it's going to get very noisy now. That's like a cooked smoothie for all those people who are getting out of raw food. If you're tired of raw food, this is your recipe. The pan is still hot, right? And I don't want my spices to burn. So I'm just going to add some water to it. And then what we'll do is we'll try to get as much spinach puree out of this blender as possible. So what we can do is we can add some water, about a cup of it, to the blender. Give it a nice spin so that it washes off all the spinach that doesn't want to be coming out, and then we'll add it again to this pan. And don't add the entire thing at the same time. So we'll turn up the flame. We'll mix it nicely, and you will say, wow, so much spinach just turned out to be just this much, right? So that's why I said, need to make sure that how many people you're cooking for and who is coming to eat. You might have somebody who is super hungry and he eats while everyone watches. You don't want that situation. So as you cook, it will be getting thicker and thicker, so you can keep on adding some more water to it. And what I'm going to do now is that I'll take about a handful of dried fenugreek leaf and then just rub it between my palms to make it finer, so that it cooks along with the spinach and gives it a nice bitter flavor. And I'll also add some garam masala, just about half a teaspoon of it. And then mix it nicely and allow it to cook for a few minutes. Now, if you want the gravy to be thick, let's say you're going on a picnic, you can leave it as it is. And I like it slightly thinner, so I'm going to add some more of this water. And maybe I can add some more. Oh, I was very good with the measurement. So the longer you will cook this spinach, the darker it will get. Okay, so all those nice photos that you see, like it's super bright green, the real Palak Paneer will never be like that fluorescent green in color. Okay, remember that will never happen, because as you keep cooking more and more, the darker it will get. But at least we are done with all the spices here. All we have to do now is cut the tofu into small dices and then put it in it. And what else can you put if you don't want to put tofu, let's say? Well, you can put your finger inside it, but you don't want it to be eaten. You can also put some chickpea, you can put potato, you can put any beans that you want to put. Like, you have this chana dal. Many people think that what do I do with it? You can actually add even chana dal to it. Or you can even add some pasta and call it like a new version of Indian spicy pasta. So the choices that you have here is limitless. It's another type of a gravy that you have here. It's also a great way to eat spinach. and you have a nice thick and creamy Palak Paneer here, a spinach gravy. All right, so we're just going to dice the tofu here into small cubes. And as you'll cook the tofu, it will also soften a bit and also get the flavor of all the spicy sauce that it is surrounded with. So you have many options here. People used to actually put ricotta cheese when they used to not find paneer. This never occurred to them that you can actually add tofu. This is a plain tofu though. And I have not done anything, but if you want it to be even more interesting, you can actually marinate the tofu with some tandoori spice or just with turmeric and chili. Fry it if you have a lot of time and then add it. And for those of you who would like to add chicken to it, you can cook the chicken, just stir fry it very nicely, small cubes of it, boneless, and then add to this gravy. That will also be an amazing thing that you can come up with. All right, there's one last spice that we have to add, ground black pepper, but that's completely optional. I'm just taking about, let's say, a teaspoon of it, and I'll grind it. I'll grind it very coarsely and then I will just add it to the Palak Paneer. Especially during winter, you need to have a lot of this pepper so that you always can breathe fresh air because your entire nasal highway will be open. I'm so hungry right now. When do we have a break? Can we eat after this? I think so. All right. And that's how this dish, in a very short time, was completely prepared from just a spinach to this nice, beautiful palak tofu, you can say, because I'm using tofu, but you can use anything. And at the end, I'll add some salt. Now, I started adding salt towards the end because I really wanted to reduce the amount of salt I want to eat. So I don't want to keep adding salt, at every single stage. Just towards the end, sometimes I don't even add it. And if anybody needs it, they add the salt by themselves. And that's it. And here it's ready. So just 250 grams of spinach gave me so much of gravy, right? So imagine if you had a kilo of it. So a lot of times when you get Palak Paneer served in a restaurant, you will see that there's something very nicely decorated creamy white sauce on it. That's actually just cream. You can just put some fresh cream on it and it will look even more nicer. And like this one is a completely vegan version, so you can be very flexible with this dish, and like I said, you can add almost anything that you have, even roasted cauliflowers. For all those people who hate cauliflowers, just grill it and put it inside it. Broccoli, you hated it, grill it, put it inside it, and you will eat your vegetables that everybody says, I struggle eating vegetables. Stop steaming them, just make it more interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And do give us a thumbs up, like our video, subscribe to our channel if you're not, and tell us what you want us to cook for you the next time.